Hello, I'm Micaiah. Welcome to Hamlet Development Log number 12. I work for a company called Haven Studios. We email us talking about as few hours of advertisement as possible, but this sort of is turning into future ideas. We talked about Patreon. Doesn't hurt, I can't spell it. I guess Patreon's a whole other topic. I also was thinking about live streaming. So I don't know, we'll have to think about that. Maybe we'll do a Haven Studios update or something, or a channel update. Anyway, so we're talking about the status report sooner. I think we're quite happy with what's going on. Not in terms of that we're still on the 0.8 on the live, 0.08 on the live branch, and 0.10 on the beta branch. I actually thought about too. Maybe I should soon is move the 0.10 from the beta branch to the live branch, and then update what I have. It's going to be pretty drastic, and I think that's why I've been putting it off for a while. And I was hoping I could sort of get it back to the working state, but that doesn't seem to be possible because we're adding so many new things. So we started this on April 22nd, which is crazy. I think this is April 28th. I think I don't know what day it is. It's Sunday. Well, it's not even Sunday. It's like pre-Sunday, post-Sunday. Anyway, so we recorded a few things, and then kind of put this together, and then took the weekend off, and now we're coming back, and I'm not sure what we're gonna do for the rest of Sunday, but anyways, pretty much. We talked about status, talked about Steam. Hopefully the less advertisement is going to be good. We got some coming soon version 2.0, the GitHub version 2.0, and the experimental AI. And then some strange 2019.2, and our goal is to ship. So yes, this is all in development, not promised, coming soon. So new into version 2. I still kind of want to talk about this idea that it's still in testing. A lot of these ideas now that I've sort of are really just on the cutting edge of, this is really cool. I want to get this into the game. Is it going to work like I think it is? What's the outcome of this going to be? A lot of it is like performance, honestly. 99% of what we're talking about here is just, is it going to be performant? Is it going to be able to, plus two, is the project getting out of hand? Do I need to get it a bit simpler? So we're, the versioning system is completely messed up. This is the 428. I actually wrote this on the 22nd. So yeah, whatever this version, we haven't done anything with that yet. The GitHub version 2, so it's kind of up to update. It's kind of in testing. We'll ship first, ask question later. It's still kind of our thing. We've developed. Oops, and again somehow I missed the thing there. Anyway, so it's just pretty much ship. But we're kind of not in that crunch mode, I guess. We're sort of in the, let's develop as much as we can. And where do we? I was talking a little bit about GitHub. I guess we're going to show that off later. So we're moving over to the game engine. So I think we actually are going to ship the game engine code base as the project we were testing about. Testing this out, and it seems like it just would be a little too much work to peel off. I don't think GitHub's not quite doing what I want it to do. It's doing everything I would hope that it would does, but it sort of had a big that's why GitHub version 1 kind of failed. Partly because I didn't understand GitHub, and it's not. I work on a very complex process, and these things don't seem to be able to handle that. So anyway, so we're just going to eventually ship 0.18 of Hamlet, just because that's the next version. And then we're just we're testing out the Unity actually changed how they ship package projects, and it's kind of really bizarre. So we're going to have to prove to be extra vigilant. So so that's kind of the plan. It's sort of shipping a lot more code than that's desired, but we are sort of peeling that off in various methods. So let's show the video, I guess, now. Somehow there's a video. Excuse the mess. Development log number 12. So we were working on a integration. This is kind of what we're doing. I have no idea. I haven't seen this video in over a week. Okay, so here this spinning I hope this is a new video for you guys, but this is sort of spinning. Is sort of signifying that that's how long it's going to take. I guess this is kind of pointless because, but this is exactly what we're going to show off in a few minutes. So I was quite proud of this. Last video I had this working, but it just wasn't quite doing everything I wanted it to do. This is actually running in the game now instead of the AI test project. I do showcase a lot of issues here that we still have to work. I think this is a different camera, I want to say. Or it just it basically runs the game. It builds this game world and a separate project. Can we see anything about this right now? Hello. We are. Let's see, what scene are we in? Oh yeah. So we're in Haven Entities. So it's in a completely different scene. We're going to showcase that in a few minutes. So, which is kind of interesting too, because we have to fix a bug. So let's kick it off. I guess is this Haven Entities? Yeah. So this is Haven Entities. This does the same thing that we just showed off, so maybe that's kind of pointless, but I wasn't sure where we're going to go with this. So there are some few errors that we're sort of working out, but yeah, so you can sort of see that this is the game world. It now has, it's text-based. We're talking a little bit about that. We can actually speed through this, and then they sort of wake up. Oh, I think it pauses, and then it wakes up. A lot of this is sort of just test code, the UI and stuff like that, how it works. And yeah, so this can actually, the camera doesn't, because the camera is not set up correctly, it doesn't recognize that it's not working. So that's that was kind of where we were. So now let's talk about where we are. So from there we can go into starting Hamlet, which is the main sort of scene. You can see our house, our dungeon, various things like that are in this scene. And we sort of set this up. It's in adventure mode. We're in the development build. I mean, this nothing really matters. And we get this. So we're in adventure mode. We have the health and social. We can actually, you can sleep in this version, where you'll gain health and energy, which is great. But the oh, and it's trying to tell us, hey, maybe we should sleep. I think for some reason, and then that should teleport us. Nope, it's not going to teleport us. Yeah. Anyway, so you can see, like, there's the energy. It's not, the icons aren't right, but this is this crazy UI over here, which we'll obviously have to change. I don't think you can run it. I think you can run into anybody. That's still kind of one of the major problems we need to work on, is the integration of. I think it's partly because of the. Oh yeah, and there we go, and we can actually interact with the dungeon, but it doesn't seem to. Oh, there it goes. We should be able to go down. What? Oh yeah, so it's running other logic in the background. That's what this is trying to tell us. So anyways, but as you can see, we are not getting our character model. So we went through, basically this is our new sort of person here. It's just basically the key value data pair, and then it has the full name, the first name, last name, and then their gender is kind of all, and then we just check if they're assigned. And then that's it. And then, anyway, so then we came down here. We checked out that we're creating a new character. We generate the character, generate a random gender. You'll be able to choose probably some of this later on. If I think we are going to support male and female characters in the game, because it's cool. You know, play how you want. We actually have a really cool things for that, hopefully coming soon. Anyway, so we came down here. We moved to the first name, last name. It's kind of a new sort of idea, and it sort of sets up their name. And the full name is now going to become their sort of identifier in the game, but we realized that we didn't put a gender in the game. So what happens when the gender comes into the game is it comes down through here and does this, no, these are trees. Here we go. We do this spawn character. And right now, unfortunately in our game, if you're a male, we spawn a male character. If you're a female character, we spawn a female character. Pretty straightforward. But unfortunately, if you look at the person SO and look at the gender right here, and look at the genders, I think, yeah, unknown becomes the first gender. So really there's a warning here that's telling me that this is assigning the gender as unknown, which is kind of what I should be doing in the first place. Same with this, is like this should be, you know, assigning values to these things right away. You know, maybe I shouldn't show off all this code, but, you know, as I'm getting, you know, crazier and crazier, things are going crazy. Okay, and then we want to do a null up here. we like to sort of, even though a lot of this doesn't matter, we like to give it very nice. So that's sort of the other aspect of this too, is when we assign a gender, should we just assign a male gender or something? I think for our purposes we probably should, because we don't have an unknown gender type. We're trying to support it, not because we think it's because that's the world and we're just trying to but I mean really there's male and female, and that's how the world is. You can't but hey, if you're not quite sure what you are, then well, that's but in the game, we do have like a lot of these are none, so we don't we don't have to assign a data element to these things, so we just called it unknown gender, which is okay, because a lot of times too, in developing a character in an RPG, I think it's kind of like you start a game and it's like, what's your ambition? Do you want to be a warrior? It's like you have no idea. It's like you build this entire, and that's kind of we're getting away from this. So there is this idea that you could sort of be an unknown gender, because you don't know what type of character you want to be. That's like the unknown character is how the game sort of is planning to be started. That's a little bit of the story, is that, and we've been developing a lot of that already, but. Anyway, so that's sort of, but right now we sort of need a male character as the gender character. So, so once and then we can also do here the else should do something else as well, and we could also do a switch here, but we could do something like this as well, and then that would support the male genders. Anyway, so then once that's done, we don't need this video anymore. So yeah, so that's kind of this. It's sort of on. We got that working on what's the 22nd? Is that Tuesday? Monday. Woo! Yeah, we just sort of got that, and then we haven't put a lot of more work into this. We've been working on a lot of other things. Anyway, so once that kicks off, this should actually work in the Haven entities as well. The FPS is pretty low right now, so it's kind of one of the performance things, but it's building up a lot of things. But yeah, there we go. So we have a character. This is not the character we're probably going to... This is the Poly Blacksmith characters. It might be okay. We are probably going to go for the Honoita characters, even though they look pretty bad. But yeah, so we're kind of really debating about how... and it doesn't, the outlines are pretty cool with the black outlines and stuff, which are great. But these are just a little too, they don't have very many, doesn't look medieval enough. So anyway, so then I believe we're selected is one of the reasons why we have that blue box under us, which we start selected, which is kind of a game settings option. Which is actually, is this working now? Yeah, right here. You can come in here and then you can check out the settings, which is awesome. So we are working on the settings. So, and then it should be right here. Entity start selected. So if I turn that off, which I don't think will affect, I have to go into let me go into the game code actually and turn that value off. So we are working on settings and options and stuff like that. We have built a lot of this. You can sort of eventually be able to design and play the game that you want to play with your font sizes and a lot of things like that. So where is my and then here's personality as well, which is kind of the things we were talking about a little bit, which is kind of, we want to get back to a lot of that. That's kind of why we're sort of like right here we go, we turn this off. This is sort of reads it from a data project file and needs to read it from a save something. We probably should just pick up a save system. A lot of this we write our own code, and you still start selected. Okay, well, he might start selected because of he's in adventure mode. He decides, and he doesn't have any UI. Anyway, so so these numbers here, the health, energy, and social, are a part of this sort of entity SO, which is sort of needs to be torn apart, and these NPCs are now, these are sort of generic NPCs now. They don't have the AI code, which is sort of what the Haven entities is actually doing here, is meant to give them more personality. through their various things. And then these guys should not start selected because it's running an entire different project. So there we go. So there, and for some reason there's one, but you can still select them. Oh, I think you have to, run the game. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't run the logic until it runs a tick, which is kind of, it's trying to save some performance. That's why it's a little bit. Anyway, so it's kind of cool. I don't think they actually interact with the world right now. They need to do a lot of this is sort of built on this idea of the unit GO. I've been talking a lot about this, and the design video coming up, we'll be talking a little bit more about this idea that these are unit GOs, and they have various systems. So, and that's I want to integrate that system into here as well. So it's really depends. Like I'm getting kind of where I want to be in terms of the tick system. And sort of the timer of the whole thing, and you sort of, I need to tie in the ability to, in the adventure mode, when you take a step, a tick increases. So that's sort of going to be the starting element of the game, is that you can actually move and tick, and that's kind of how these RPGs work, roguelikes work. So I definitely want to build that system. And then that will sort of, and then whether or not you have energy and health, and that restores. Right now, health goes up to 50%, energy goes up to 100% when you're sleeping, and this is sort of based on the ticks of the cycle, which is kind of like I might get back into that. There was this idea that why would I prevent someone from doing an action if they couldn't take an action? And it's partly because I didn't have the ability for them to restore their energy. But now, if you don't, if you're not sleeping, you fall asleep, and maybe you restore only a quarter of your energy, and it takes 100 ticks or something. But if you sleep in a bed, then it restores the energy ticks. Anyway, so a lot of this is not quite working yet, but yeah. So the next sort of idea is how to get. I think this is kind of what we're going with right now. Is this is sort of. I know it looks pretty bad in terms of graphics, but we're kind of I think it's just shader quality and view stuff. And then two, we're kind of really just debating about what to do about the rest of the world and how to get it to be a little bit more. There's a lot of cool games like I can't remember. Anyways, there's a game where it's like the world you sort of build the world, and it's like I'll have to see how they do that. I can't remember the name of the game. Anyways, but Bastion, I think it's called here. Maybe if that's the correct name, let's look it up. But so anyway, so I definitely need to start improving that. How they do it. Yeah, see, because they have this sort of background images or something, like you're in space or something. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is that this is sort of what I have now. Not very good graphics, but as things improve, and we actually need to work on the a lot of this, but you can see sort of that they have this sort of tile system, and it's kind of has this really interesting sort of 3D tiles, which is really great. But then they have this background where you can actually see stuff, which is it's possible, but it's a lot of graphics, and I'm kind of really putting that off. But at some point, I need to include. You can, let's see, if we unpause this and we go to the graphics. Yeah, you can see these new. We talked a little bit about these. These are sort of improved not improved, but they are different graphics where you can actually have apple trees, and then you can go pick apples, and various interactives like that are going to be a little bit more kind of like our. I know these graphics are 1,000, but I mean this is kind of a little bit more professional studio. Maybe not. I don't know who puts this one. She called them out because Supergiant. Yes, the Supergiant is probably. They have tons of games out there, Transistor and Bastion and stuff like that. So it's like they have the budget to sort of do this, and I do not. But it's passion. Passion is what I live on. Anyway, so that's a real good sort of Is this a pretty short? Seems like a shorter video, but hey, there's a 45 minutes. Oh, let's talk about GitHub. So this is sort of the new version of GitHub. Let's see if we can. Oh, no, don't do anything. Let's see, manage. Anyways, we had this sort of. We were doing we had this node database idea, and we thought that would be a cool idea, and we even thought about, hey, we should do a branch of, this is kind of when you look at your branches, this is kind of what we're looking for. We thought, it'd be really nice if we have this release branch and stuff like that, but weekend work is done. But it just became like, I didn't realize that in order to merge the branches, you had to take a few extra steps, and that's not what I want to do. In terms of code base, it's like I want it to sort of, I want to be working in a release branch and fixing bugs, and I want to take those files that are the core files and merge them back into the main branch. And it doesn't seem like it's doing that. It's just sort of keeping the branch as if it's some other character's work or some other person's work. Now update. I should focus. Finish. I used to be so good about it. Now I just can't even. Now updating the branch, the master branch. This is kind of what I do now. Is I just So then I just push this. And a lot of these are just like Oops. What happened? Yeah. So you can see like this is about a week ago that we kind of started this. And then we did a lot of anyway, so it's a lot of this is like really like kind of cool in terms of what you can see, but it doesn't really. I wish there was a way to filter this. I should have showed that. I wish there was a way to filter these changes to be ones that are like this breaks the branch, but basically I just pushed every change to the server, and now my server is updated to the current branch. But what I really need to do is like, if you saw, we're working on singleton behavior. So I was looking for this class over here, which is the game MonoBehaviour. But and then you come down here. Well, actually, it was the singleton class too. Is we had access to the singleton class right here, but there was a change right here. I made a change in this class that converted it from a public virtual void to a private void. And then it sort of has been awakened, and which then just calls it just sort of, this is meant to sort of be like a preliminary step that sort of, and then it sort of decides how this is it's a really basic singleton pattern that talks about that I just created this object, and this is kind of, this has been created, sort of this, did it create it from the this file, which is kind of sometimes bad because singletons. Anyway, so so we made a change here that we're changing this from a private to from public virtual to a private, which kind of signifies that these 14 classes that are from the singletons should only inherit from this class and they should pass in the on awake. So like game settings, this might be a game MonoBehaviour. Yeah, the game MonoBehaviour just means that it doesn't care, that it can just build it from the game basically. So that's kind of what it does, is just builds this entire thing from the game, and that's why I could change the settings of selecting characters, and then like you can change your right now you can't change your personality, which is coming hopefully soon. But anyway, so there's personality, so it's kind of part of the personality is part of the character creator, sort of this idea. Is that you can sort of decide, and then we might do various story requests or things like that, or just do a basic. But yeah, so it's like that's kind of what I would like GitHub to do, is to be able to push out those changes that this core engine I'm working on, regardless of what project I'm working on. I want it to say update these files to the master library, and it just seems like it's updating the branch, and then you merge the branch into the master. Well, if it's a release branch, I don't want to merge the release branch into the master. I just want a release branch that I can merge the base branch together, and it just seems like that's not the case. Maybe I don't understand GitHub. I'm enjoying it so far. Um, yeah, so it's just like I need to sort of figure that out. It's sort of set a little bit back because I had to do a little bit of extra work on that specific change, especially on the singleton behavior, because I had to change this multiple times and remember some of the changes I'd made, and that's probably why I fixed. Well, I guess I was converting over the this new person SO. It's actually kind of bizarre because there's a person right now as well. It's like there's a person.scs, which is a that has this sort of the idea, but they have all these secondary skills of they actually have this idea that they have family tree and genealogy, and a lot of this has sort of been like the currency in gold, and you can sort of see their social health is sort of been farmed out, which is kind of what I would like to do a little bit more. We'll have to see in the game entity character. Yeah, you can sort of, the game entity character now has an entity scriptable object, a unit scriptable object, which is sort of their pathfinding, sort of where they are in the world. It's kind of their world object, where we are in the world. Do I have definitions for this? Yeah, I don't have any sort of, like, this is now just sort of where we are in the world. Which is great because this is it takes well, a lot of this data right here is definitely a problem. It needs to sort of, but here we have a node path, where we're facing, what direction we're facing, and then we get eventually down to the when we arrive, and a lot of this stuff too. And then here's some of the so here's some of the node changes. So here's the current node, which is sort of where we're at in the world, and then where we want to go. And I think our next node, our next node, is there a way to get to next node? Next node. I thought there was a concept of next node. I thought that was interesting. Basically, it asks the Pathfinder. It asks the Pathfinder right here. It's like years worth of work here, but I believe this asks, you can ask the Pathfinder what the next node is. And it's a lot of other, it's this whole mesh of stuff, but anyways, right here, I think, this is sort of like the next current node, so this is like where you get the node. So you just get the node and it returns the next node. Next current node. next current future node. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so complicated. It's like, you have a target node, you have a node you want to go to, you have a node you're at. It's like, game development. I need to start simplifying, sort of, fix that and put that out. So where are we at? Okay, so we want to talk about a lot of, I guess we are talking, we talked a lot about combat, and we really want to get to that, but and we realize that that's a big pillar of where we're trying to go with dungeons and combat, sort of are kind of intrinsic. Maybe this is sort of combined, but we have a character as an RPG, we have dungeon and combat maybe is more of our pillar. So which improvement of the character, but then you can also have this secondary. I'm like, did I misspell coming? Oh, so I'm tired. Sorry. Anyways, and then we have the third sort of, and I guess that's sort of it. Like, you have a character, and you can either build the character through the town or through the dungeon, and I think that's maybe the best way to explain that. And build that character through combat or build that through non-combat. This could, I think that's kind of the game we're trying to build is this idea that it's like a real RPG where you can decide what you want to go do. Maybe you have one character. I don't know if this would be the case, but you would just have, and that's sort of like, that's the difference for me. It's, you're not a warrior. Oh, I'm going to go out and be a warrior. Oh, I want to be a druid. It's like, you could just be both. Like, why not be both? Based on, and it's, we'll have to see how that goes, versus like, whether or not you can. We talked a lot about character design, and I think we might go for agnostic character that you can do whatever you want to do and just go do it, and then we'll have to figure out the balance around that more so. But also this idea that you could build up this economic town idea, which is coming along nicely. I mean, I started this sort of talking about the game design number 12, I think it was, about the which is going to come out this Wednesday, which is talking about this project I work on for the weekend, working on more sort of scheduling, and it sort of was a different way to think about scheduling, which is always nice for me. But yeah, so it's definitely one of the things is to get to get the game to ship, which would be awesome. But maybe I'll talk about that a couple minutes, even though I'm probably another 30-minute game design is like 45 minutes. But yeah, so I've realized one of the big problems I have right now is I'm trying to get it back to this sort of idea where you have a character, you can pick up an axe, you can chop down the tree, you can sleep, and I had a really cool, not in-depth game there, but I had a lot of some gameplay, and right now I've sort of broken a lot of that gameplay to start adding in, energy and adding in more cycles to the character and adding in more depth to the character, and it's like I have to sort of hook a lot of this up. And another thing too, it's like the character itself, when they decide, they have like these 6 or 8 different character. You have the adventure character, you have the RTS character, and they all run various logic. And it's getting better now, where it's like some of them actually talk to the unit geo, which it's like the view, the action, the action, I don't know, input action model, or I don't know what the model's called, but that's kind of what I want to get to right now. Is like you tell the character to move forward, and the character goes and tells the actor that, hey, I want to move forward, and then it decides how it moves forward. And that's what I want to get, and that sort of routes all their logic into one central location, which then I can say, well, you can't enter the tile because of this, and it's like instead of going to 5 different code, the units and the characters and the game characters and the entities and all these different ideas, that they have to say, well, why can't I enter this node? The character itself, through this one central code, the unit geo, which will handle, and then it handles all, that will handle the characters, the enemies, the NPCs, the monsters, the critters, all these different types of characters that have been working on various types of systems. They'll now be able to pathfind and correctly move to nodes and take control of nodes. And you can't move it in the node because there's a pig, or there's a cow, or there's a wolf, or whatever there is in that node. But that one central character idea handles that. Or it can't enter in the house, or can't enter in the wherever. So it's kind of like this idea that you have a character, our unit, a node, and an object, and those 3 specific ideas, and then get it down to that core concept of the game. And I think that would be really cool. But I need to go back a little bit and sort of get all that working. But I also need to ship at some point, so feel like people have the games. I think the devlog is giving the is getting the message out there that the game is improving and things are happening, and it's really awesome, and it's putting a lot of work into this, and a lot of work into game design as well. Game design, game development. That's pretty much what I love doing 24/7. Maybe exclusively, or irregardless of doing stuff with friends and going out and doing stuff, and it's like I just don't do those things, for a lot of reasons, and these are the real fun things for me. But anyway, so that's kind of where we're going. I definitely need to sort of get, I think the next good, easy step to take would be to push out the 0.10, play through the 0.10. I think there was a couple bugs with the 0.10, which is why I was hesitant to push it out to the live branch. It sort of broke some of the functionality, but considering now the functionality to here is pretty bad. But but I think we'll easily, like for instance, one of the core things I talked about in the game demo was the fact that we can run through buildings and walls and stuff like that. But I mean, that's part of the because of the nodes and how they're changing. They've always remained the same, but they're sort of now being this multi-level node idea, which hopefully will work out and be performant enough to be cool. But then I have to sort of things, and then like the adventure just sort of says move forward, and then it doesn't talk to the unit, which knows that it can't move forward. So anyway, so that's kind of to get to that point, and so I should maybe push out the but I guess the sort of the thing is a lot of people are not clamoring like, oh, I really want to play the next demo. Maybe that'd be like stressful. So I'm glad I'm really small, and I can sort of work on these things. I probably always will work on this in such a way that's like, what's the most conducive to me getting the most work done, because it's like I'm working on this 24/7. So it's like if I'm not happy doing that, then that's a problem. And it's like, and I don't force myself to fix things, or it's like I probably should do a little bit more, but it's just not really, it's like, especially as developing a massive game like this, where you have in a studio, a big studio, you can rely on the art team. You can rely on, hopefully, you can rely on the people that are supposed to do their jobs that are going to do it. And for me, it's like I can't rely on the art team because I am the art team, I am the programmer. So it's like I have to sort of, it's like I can rely on myself to get it done, but then I have to sort of, find the work and the motivations to do what I can get done, because there's so many things to do. If I try to force myself to work on nothing but the nodes and getting them perfect, then it will take months and months and months and will probably never get done. But versus applying all these other systems, that build up, and that's sort of the difference here, is I'm still building up all the systems in place to get and trying to decide how I want the AI to work and how to improve the AI and add various things. And it's, the core, this core game from the original demo was simple, but it didn't do a lot of things. It didn't have a lot of room for growth. And this now new project, I need to sort of simplify it, but eventually it will have a ton of room for growth. So anyway, so that's the goal, and hopefully we're getting there, and it's coming along pretty nicely. So thanks everybody. I guess we'll end it here and we'll continue on. You'll see a game design this Wednesday, and then hopefully next week we'll have some shipping news to share. You take care.